Home and land sellers and buyers in British Columbia. Here's how to be septic system aware to both steward and improve your investment and your property's value. And I'm here to encourage you how to take care of your land or the land that you're about to purchase. My name is Lana Brown, and I provide holistic property design.
Environmental normal is changing the order of our priorities when it comes to ownership and stewarding land. And so traditionally, septic systems are more of an afterthought and aren't emphasized as an important part of a very large purchase, one of the largest purchases in your entire life. And so I wanted to bring up some myths and dispel some myths and bring about some encouragements for people to consider early as opposed to when it's too late, when shift hits the fan. So usually what we tell people is when going into property ownership is that it's really best practices to have a contingency plan for sudden environmental expenses. So this is especially important for people who may be squeaked by the mortgage stress test or are relying on tenants you might be inheriting from the previous owners to help pay the mortgage from the get-go. And I want to say that if a septic system doesn't pass inspection around the time of purchase and is unable to support the wastewater design flow that the system was originally designed for, this shouldn't be a make or break financial hurdle at the beginning of property purchase. So often people benefit from having contingency budgets for the essential maintenance of property and the essential stewardship of wastewater and land in the beginning, and then also have the budgets for renovations and aesthetic upgrades, which is just a normal part of property takeover. But the priority really has to shift into those environmental surprises. And so this is relevant because one of the most common places to build homes is in river valleys or areas previously occupied by glaciers that flatten out nicely sloped plateaus for building. And so there may be pockets of soil type left over by glaciers that don't very well support building or wastewater management. And this shouldn't be a surprise. We should know our soils before building or having expectations on water management. And so one of the most common myths about septic systems is if they've never been a problem and they don't smell, then they're working just fine. So we are in a new normal. Just fine doesn't cut it anymore. So in a good comparison to make, because septic systems are a living system, just like our human bodies are living systems, is that certain diseases, for example, maybe kidney disease, may be totally asymptomatic until the kidneys are almost completely pooched. And so it can seem like these health problems come up without a warning, but the reality is they've let our bodies operate just fine, but things haven't been fine. And so it's important to realize that septic systems do have an expiry date, often without obvious symptoms. They are not infinite, and they will not forever handle the crap that we've been literally flinging at them. And so we're finding in our coastal region here, without presenting obvious symptoms, often older septic systems do not pass inspection. And in some cases, and this is like more common than we want to realize, is that they actually have to be declared an environmental hazard by the provincial health authorities. They had no smell and they worked just fine. And really, that wasn't the case and ended up being a surprise at the time of property purchase, or worse, when you have offers on the property and you scare away buyers or your property is devalued in huge chunks. So there's some key differences that are really debunking the it's working just fine myth. And so we have these critical points in our ecological new normal, but we also have regulations and standards that have evolved significantly and in some cases very rapidly or relatively rapidly. Also, we need to realize that certain septic setups and certain maintenance approaches are no longer grandfathered. They are no longer copacetic. They don't pass. So the myths that people have are, oh, it'll be just grandfathered, and that is not the case, especially when certain mitigations or certain repairs or certain add-ons to systems now bump the older system to have to comply with newer regulations that they were never designed to meet originally. And this can have to do with riparian zones being close to water, seasonal water tables, just new ecological shift storms. And one of the most misleading concepts to grasp that still befuddle like even people in the septic industry or the wastewater industry or the construction industry is that adding components, for example, extra pipes that feed the field, somehow that will make the system able to process more wastewater for more occupancy in the household, for more bedrooms, for more add-ons, additions, renovations. But this is not always the case. Wastewater management is very complex. It has so many working parts, and it is not as open to creative workarounds as is believed. So it's a myth. And in wastewater, length is everything. Length is everything. So the length of the field is the treatment capacity. Theoretically, and there's always going to be exceptions here, but if you throw an extra bunch of pipes on there, it may not lengthen the capacity of the treatment field. Not always. So many caveats here, but I'm trying to dispel some common myths. Another new impact is unusual water cycles, unprecedented water tables, seasonal rises, excessive groundwater, excessive stormwater, and drought. All of these things affect our septic fields in unprecedented ways, and sometimes can create permanent, irreversible harm to our system's ability to neutralize wastewater. And we need to directly connect. Let's unbury our heads out of the sand. We need to realize that our septic is directly related to our drinking water and availability of clean, potable drinking water, because our septic field treats our wastewater, and as it trickles down, our wastewater rejoins the water table that becomes the source of our healthy hydration. And there are things we do as humans that permanently destroy the soil. Chemicals, medications, chemotherapy, recreational drugs can and do permanently harm septic fields. So the health of our septic systems comes down to soil structure, soil health, biome, the microorganisms in the soil, and time. That could be time in terms of degradation of soil. That could be time in buildup of biomats that impair the filtration of our fields. And that can also be time in that the time that the soil allows the wastewater to sit inside the soil for the biome to eat away at and to convert. So when we purchase a home, we inherit a legacy and we become stewards of soil and water, and septic systems are not infinite. They will not forever take our crap. If an aging septic system needs to retire because of the passage of time, or because its structure is damaged, or the biome was not predestined to last as long as a septic field in a different location and a different soil, and it could be next door, or because our society learned how to improve environmental standards, this is all of our responsibility as stewards. This is all of our responsibility as people harming the environment. And instead of finding someone we can sue, we take care of our own shift. We learn how to take better care of our septic fields and systems, plus install new, certified, filed systems that meet current environmental standards at the current occupancies that we are putting on our land. If we are purchasing bare land, this unavoidable reality, we have to adjust the shape and size of the home that we intend to build in order to accommodate a working septic system on the soil and land that's available to treat it. So these are some of the myths. And, I'm still hearing on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't smell, it's working fine. It worked fine for my uncle for 50 years, but it's simply not our new reality. So I'm hoping to inspire you to take excellent care of your septic fields, to do the maintenance that we need to do, and to take our heads out of the sand and look at what's around us and realize that we are stewards, 100% responsible for our land and our water.